If you have something inside of you, an idea inside of you, a seed, and bringing it to life as into a business can be the same thing as bringing a child into life. It's an idea, a seed, a thought that you want to create. So it's a creation either way.
Yeah. Yes. And look, I'm all for biology. I think that's very powerful. But there are those moments, right? Those intuitions. Like when you have a baby, there's like the woman's intuition. Like we're giving so many things in order to be able to protect the baby. And yet with business, like I have learned to start to listen to my intuition just the same. It's like, I think intuition has to be trained. Right. I don't think it's just like, oh, you got intuition, it's fine. You're amazing. You know everything. It's like, no, we learn intuition as we get older. That look, that one time, that one person gave me a look, ended bad. Your body remembers.
Feel it, yeah, of course.
So,
what would you say is the biggest insecurity or fear you still are faced with today?
Really starting anything new. I mean, that's never, even writing this book. It's like, I don't know how to write a book. And even getting interviewed, right? It's like, I don't know how to be interviewed about a book. So it's not so much insecurity now in the sense of it. I don't feel petrified, but like, I know I'm not equipped. And so is that an insecurity? Sure, but it's a valid insecurity because I've never done a book before. So anytime I fear that, like that fear of like, oh, you're about to enter a space that you don't know, I just reassure myself. It's like, oh, it's day one. It's day one. Give yourself the grace to know anything you try is day one. We do it at college, right? I bet you did it at practice. Like the first time you picked up a football, you weren't thinking that you were going to be the best quarterback in the world, right? It's like, oh, I've got to learn how to freaking throw the ball. So that's what I do. Just day one, anytime I feel the fear over anything new, Lewis, anything, I have these mantras, I have these tactics, I have these tools. Everything I put in the book, it's like, okay, Lisa, you've got radical confidence. And radical confidence means that even with the fear, you're going to move forward, but you need to practice. You have to go in with a mindset that you're going to learn and have a game plan. And then when you fall on your face, get back up. Like that is my superpower. I wish I could be amazing at things, but I'm not. So I remind myself my superpower is I'm the person that gets back up.
Yeah.
And that's encouraging.
That's beautiful. And what about around money? How has your mindset shifted? Do you feel like you have created more confidence or more self-love or more belief in yourself as the money started to come for both you and Tom in your life where you really didn't have a lot beforehand? You had some, you're working or he was working, but it wasn't like the amount of wealth that you guys created with Quest and Impact Theory and everything you guys have built together. How did the accumulation of wealth change your beliefs about yourself?
Oh, that's such a big question. That's such a good question, Lewis. Okay.
Because you went from an apartment, I'm assuming, to a house, to a bigger house, to number in your bank account going way up, to being able to buy things now, lots of great things.
Yeah.
How did that shift?
So I really thought, when we're successful, when we're rich, I'm going to feel like everything's going to be okay. Because you look at successful, wealthy people and you're like, at least for me, can't speak for other people, I admire them. Like, oh my God, look at that watch. Like, look at that thing, right? Like, oh my God.
That car, the house.
Yeah, I'm going to feel great when I have it. So because you think that about that person, you think that's how you're going to feel when you get there. So I'm going to take you back. Quest is announced as $1 billion company, but we all know until you actually make any sales,
you don't make any money.
You literally don't make any money.
You're just getting a salary and some bonuses.
Yeah. Tom and I were still sharing the same Ford Focus with a hole in the exhaust when Quest was announced as $1 billion company. So everyone thinks you're wealthy, but we literally had, Tom's salary and that was it. So we go to sell a very small portion of Quest. And so these things take months and months and months.
How much did you guys, what was the percentage?
I think it was like 9% at the beginning.
That you guys had total?
That we sold. So
gotcha.
So there's 3 business partners, Tom and then the other.
So they split it 3 ways essentially.
Yes, exactly. So we split like 9% or something, like 11%. I can't remember how much. This was a while ago. So it's a small percent, so you're still taking massive ownership over it, but it was still a hell of a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So now that sort of thing takes months and months and months. So we didn't want to talk about it. We didn't tell anybody that we were trying to sell a bit because you never know what's going to happen. So one day we hear rumors that today is going to be the day
that the money comes in.
Yes.
Like there's a wire transfer of this much money.
Yes, our Ford Focus is still sitting in the drive.
Right.
And we hear these rumors from our finances that the money's about to come in. So we're working in our makeshift garage gym. And in between reps, Tom's like, all right, babe, refresh. No, nothing yet.
Oh,
so we're like
man.
going deep, refresh. And literally one button, refresh,
Boom.
boom, your life changes.
Wow.
And in that moment, I was like, oh my God. And so we hugged, we took a couple of selfies. And then what did we do, Lewis? We got back up and went back to work.
Yeah.
And in that moment, because first of all, I was like, babe, where are you going? Yeah, we're going to celebrate. He goes, we've got to get back to work. Our mission isn't done. And I was like, you're right. And in that moment, it was such a beautiful realization. Because we had a mission, so we were chasing money. We said, stop chasing money. Now let's chase something that's actually predicated on passion, desire, and value add. That was Quest Nutrition. So we flipped our mindsets. We stopped chasing money. And in the effort of stop chasing money, it led to us creating money. But because of we'd already developed a mission, we'd already developed our why, we knew why we were getting out of bed every day, that didn't change just because our bank account did. Now look, I'm not going to pretend. It was amazing,
Yeah.
right? We didn't tell anybody, and about 2 days later or something, we went shopping.
Yeah.
And it was like...
Get whatever you want, yes.
So it was like, that's amazing. I'm never going to BS anyone. It was a dream come true. It was wonderful. But it didn't change how I felt about myself. It didn't change my mission.
Did you believe you were deserving and worthy of the money?
I don't really think like that. I don't really know what that means, because when it says deserving, there are people out there that have a harder life than I do, that work harder to provide for their family than I do. So it's hard for me to say deserve. We work freaking hard for it. We sacrificed. So do I think that it was, well placed maybe? Sure. It's hard for me to kind of answer that. It really did become when you get what you think you want, when you go to bed at night, how do you feel about yourself? And it was the same. It was just in more expensive bed sheets.
Right.
And
the nicer car. And,
yeah. The negative voice is still there. The person saying that you're not good is still there. The imposter syndrome is still there. It's just in a nicer house.
So you still felt like an imposter?
Oh my God, of course. Yeah.
What was the imposter
I still felt
voice?
like I was helping my husband out.
What year was this?
2015.
Okay, so about 7 years ago.
Yeah. So
what was the voice in your head at that time? When this massive number hits the bank account, what is that imposter voice saying to you?
even though at this point I had, I was had 40 employees underneath me, 10,000 square foot, literally went from shipping bars on my living room floor to that. Mm-hmm. And then imposter syndrome is that my husband and his business partners earned the money, and I was a good help.
So that's what you were saying to yourself. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so even that took work and, internal work and, what value do you bring to the table just because your name is on that piece of paper as a founder, because those three were, it's like you've brought, to really coach myself through, but you've sacrificed, you've given every hour of every day. Literally, I was working 12, 13 hours a day. So to really believe in myself that I had earned that was very hard, but it was important for me to do. And then the idea of in the grind, when things are hard and you're asking yourself, what the hell are we doing this all for? Why? Tom and I would drive around Beverly Hills in our crappy car, and we would point out all the houses we would buy. And we were like, I like this style. No, I like this style. And then eventually the money comes to our account and we actually can buy the house that we're the roads that we're touring. So it's the biggest dream come true. And in that moment, it was I wanted a waterfall. So I'm a 90s chick. I love hip hop and I love 90s. And so I was always joking, but really serious. I was like, babe, I want to do our own version of a 90s hip hop music video. I want a waterfall. I want Dom Perignon bottle. I want to pour it down me in a sexy outfit. I want you to film me. That was the dream. I have to emotionally tie to a dream. It can't just be a house. It has to be the feeling of getting the house. So I had this vision. We finally get the house. It finally has a freaking waterfall, dude. We get the keys. We got a bottle of Dom Perignon. Tom's got a photo. He's taking a photo of me. I'm taking a swig of the champagne. And that was the moment my health and my gut felt like it, obviously I've had health issues. Mm-hmm. That was the moment.
Really?
That same moment that we were celebrating the biggest achievement of our lives.
Really?
It's so cliche.
Why was that the moment, do you think?
So I think I'd had 15 years of gut issues. I was ignoring them. I was priding myself on the grind. I wasn't priding myself on the self-care. So for years and years, I was getting sicker and sicker because I wasn't replenishing my gut. I had a very unhealthy relationship with food. So I wasn't having fat. I wasn't eating carbs. I thought I had to be as skinny as possible. So all this unhealthy relationship, I was getting sick because I was working a lot. I wasn't replenishing. And so I was getting a lot of antibiotics. And so for like years and years and years, I was taking 3 to 4, 5 times a year antibiotics.
Wow.
And I really think it got to the point where I'd pushed myself into the ground, and the bubbly and the alcohol, I think it was just that moment.
Wow.
And I think, and it literally, from them, it felt like it erupted. I didn't tell Tom because, of course, I'm trying to be strong.
Sure.
So I'm like, babe, I'll be back in a second. I run to the bathroom and I literally cannot get, I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? My gut is in like such disarray. But my husband's so excited for, so of course, what do I tell myself? Just push through it.
Right.
Don't tell him, push through it. It's a celebration. And I was like, all right, if I just get straight into the swimming pool, then I'll be able to hide my pain.
Oh, man.
So I get out, I'm like trying to pretend, I'm like rushing into the swimming pool, and just the water pressure was too unbearable.
Ooh.
And that's when I'm like, babe, I don't know what's wrong. That was 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I'm still on my journey of healing my gut.
Wow.
Just to give perspective to everybody.
Wow.
For a whole year, I couldn't eat more than like 4 or 5 ingredients. It was like beef, salt, coconut oil, and chicken. I was 20 pounds lighter than I am now.
Wow.
My hair was falling out. My nails were brittle. And you want to talk about my relationship with my husband. I started feeling like I wasn't sexy. I could barely hug him, let alone any intimacy. You got to understand what that does to a woman's emotions, how I felt about myself. Tom was so supportive.
Wow.
But I felt like I wasn't bringing, beauty to our relationship. That was me, that wasn't him. Sex was out the window. And it was like I couldn't even stand up at 5 minutes at a time. And on the outside, we had like just literally we're celebrating Quest being $1 billion company and one of the most fastest growing nutrition companies in the world. And here I am. I can't even eat. I pretended I didn't tell anybody. For months, I didn't tell anyone. So sorry, I know that was a long story, but really going back to your point of, I remember the day that my success changed. And that was the most beautiful lesson if I can look back, right? Like, we think it was Tony Robbins, but I use this all the time. How can I make the most horrific thing be the best thing that's ever happened to me?
Yeah.
In that moment, I was tested.
Giving it meaning, yeah.
Yeah. And in that moment, I was tested. And it was like, you can't, I mean, like I said, I'm still struggling 6 years later. But how can that moment be the best thing that's ever happened to me? Number one, I took ownership. I did it to my gut. I was the one that had a bad relationship with food. I was the one that was taking the antibiotics. And for so long, I was like, it's the doctor's fault. It's the expert's fault. It's that person's fault. Taking ownership over my health changed everything, not just for my health, but in the way that I see business, in the way that I see my relationship. Now, every time something goes wrong, the very first thing I ask myself is, how can I take ownership over this? How is this my own doing? So that changed my whole health. That changed my business. Every time now something goes wrong in the business, whether it's an employee that has royally screwed up, I literally will, before I say anything, it's like, what's my ownership in this?
Yeah. I know that feeling.
And so that just changed everything. And then it also changed my idea of success. It really did. And so when thank God, like, I don't know how I would think about success if that hadn't happened to me. I don't know how I would think about money if that didn't happen to me.
How do you think about it now?
I don't give a shit. Like, I love it, of course. It allows me to create content, right? It allows me to impact people. It allows me to do all the things that I do every day. If ever I was coming into conflict with my relationship, I wouldn't think twice about it. If ever it was coming to conflict of me feeling good about myself, I wouldn't think about it. Like, that's what I mean by it doesn't dictate who I am and how I show up every day. It is an amazing facilitator. Amazing. And I'm such an advocate for wealth creation. I think it's BS when people are like, no, it can do beautiful things. It really can. So I'm not going to BS anyone. But money in and of itself is like a superpower. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil. It's your choice.
Right.
And so for me, it's like it's so beautiful because I'm able to create beautiful things out of it. But it doesn't have a reflection of how I feel about myself, who I am and how I show up every day. And I don't know if it would have It may have done that if my gut didn't fall apart.
Interesting.
We can convince ourselves we're still moving towards that goal. And so for 8 years, I kept convincing myself, but Lisa, you're still moving towards the goal. You're earning more money. You're earning more money. One day you'll be able to make movies. And that's, I think, where the problem lies.
Right. So it was all for the fact of making a movie together
Yeah.
eventually. Interesting.